After my first marriage, I found myself missing my toxic ex. I know, it was the strangest thing. I knew logically that it wasn't healthy for me to feel this way, but I couldn't stop remembering the good times. The longer I was away, the more the bad times seemed to kind of slip my mind. As it turns out, I'm not alone here. So often I hear toxic relationship survivors tell me that they're sad about the loss of a narcissist. Not the toxic person that they currently know, but the person they thought they'd known, the one they believed they were involved with, or the person who was first introduced to them. So today at QueenBeing.com, we're going to talk about why there's so much confusion in and around toxic relationships and exactly what you can do to eliminate that confusion. So let's get started. Why is there so much confusion in and around toxic relationships? Well, on an essential level, it's because the narcissist hides behind a sort of armor. That is their false self, that mask they wear. What I mean is, the narcissist kind of fools you from very early on. Your first impression of the narcissist may have been a very good one. I know it was for me. That's because the narcissist showed you only the best parts of themselves, at least initially when you first met. The qualities and traits they showed you were the types that they only present to the outside world. They make it really difficult to see who they truly are. And you're stuck deciding whether you've really got the sweet and charming love you signed up for, or whether the wool was just pulled over your eyes and the real person is actually that toxic, mean, insulting, manipulative narcissist you've been dealing with in your real life. Of course, this leads you to a serious kind of mental torture that kind of causes you to literally be at odds with yourself. We call that cognitive dissonance, by the way.
The cognitive dissonance theory was first introduced by an American social psychologist named Leon Festinger in 1957. Essentially, it states that as humans, we are predisposed to seek internal constancy. Basically, what that means is that in general, our beliefs, our thoughts, our opinions must correspond with our actions and our behavior and our attitude. This way, we don't really feel the stress of trying to live in a way that doesn't correspond with our beliefs. But if dissonance, discomfort, or inconsistency of any kind is experienced, we tend to feel psychological discomfort, and we strive hard to reduce that or to avoid it altogether. What this means is that we have a sort of predetermined drive to hold all of our attitudes and behavior in harmony and to avoid disharmony or dissonance. This is known as the principle of cognitive consistency. When our attitudes or behaviors don't match, it creates dissonance. If we're going to get rid of the dissonance, we must change something. We aren't programmed to allow the dissonance to continue. As a matter of fact, we feel mild to serious mental and emotional stress if we can't resolve it. But here's where your narcissist comes in. Since they make it nearly impossible for us to remain sane and to resolve the dissonance, well, it adds to our already full emotional plate. How much damage it causes us will depend on the level to which we take seriously the issue over which we have cognitive dissonance. Of course, the theory is the greater the dissonance, the more you will naturally feel motivated to resolve it. Why do we have cognitive dissonance? Cognitive dissonance basically happens when our own self-image is contradicted by what happens in our lives. So, for example, if we see ourselves as strong and intelligent people, but then we end up with a controlling, abusive person in our lives, we feel weak and we feel less intelligent, and we question who we are and what we are doing in that relationship. This happens for several reasons. For example, we believe what we do, and our ethics are what they are, based on what we feel is very important to us, things that really matter in the bigger picture. But our actions tend to be based around instant gratification, personal comfort, or very often for survivors of abuse, a desire to keep the peace in our environment on some level.
You're trying to sort of reconcile the illusion you were initially presented with and the person you now have got to deal with. In a lot of cases, in order to cope with this mess, you start trying to improve yourself. At least that's what I did. I tried to change for my narcissist. But in reality, you and we did nothing wrong. You're not the issue here. You're just subconsciously trying to uphold that initial impression that you had of the narcissist. That image of their false self is challenged during the inevitable devaluation phase that we all have to experience at the hands of a narcissist. And then by the time you got to the discard phase, also inevitable with the narcissist, the cycle, like the beat, goes on. You'll be treated to glimpses of the truly ugly face of the narcissist, the one that spews out cruel and painful poison that causes you to lose all faith in yourself faster than you can say boo. And you see the coldness, the callous indifference that leads to what feels like absolute torture to you. While your first reaction is that, everybody has a bad moment, and this can't be who this person really is. The truth is that this is probably the closest you're ever going to come to actually seeing the narcissist's real self. This is about the time you recognize that the amazingly charming or engaging or otherwise awesome person you got involved with in the first place is gone, and suddenly you see this horrible contempt that he or she seems to have for you. And when you realize that they felt that way all along, your heart breaks just a little more, if that's possible. But what you have to realize here is that none of this is your fault. In reality, narcissists are not capable of feeling genuine love or empathy for anyone else. They just use people to meet their own selfish needs. Once they exhaust the one source of supply, well, it's on to the next. Don't let yourself believe in the magical connection you once thought you had. It was just a part of the whole narcissistic cycle, an illusion, just like the narcissist's identity. So now that you know all of this, what the heck are you supposed to do with it? Well, you start picking up the pieces of yourself, and you begin the healing process. You go forward, and you go no contact, or if you're forced to deal with a narcissist, say at work or as a co-parent, you go low contact. You're not to blame. You were simply used as a pawn in the narcissist's game.
When we're in a relationship with a narcissist, they literally teach us that we can't trust ourselves. And so we begin to always second guess ourselves. And sometimes that starts in childhood if we had narcissistic parents. Take it slowly. And when you're going through this, like if you find yourself thinking, well, I shouldn't do that or I should do that, and then you second guess yourself, roll back and say, wait a minute, my instincts tell me this, I'm going to do this. Do what feels right to you in your heart and your stomach, you know what I mean, this kind of area, because it makes a huge difference, I think. We really don't even know how to trust our instincts. So you're going to have to kind of start over and kind of figure out what that even really means for you. Do you know what I'm saying? Like for me, I think I was like 35 before I fully embraced it. You're going to want to kind of take it from that level and go forward from there. So think about, what does it mean to trust myself? It's about digging into your intuition and figuring out what it feels like when something feels right, what it feels like when something feels wrong, and learning how to hear and listen to yourself. Don't beat yourself up about it. But now that you know better, you're doing better, right? So keep focusing on that. So now you just have to start changing your perception and recognizing the level of freedom that you actually might have right now. Do you know what I'm saying? Change your perception, start to focus on things you're grateful for, start to focus on what you can control, not what you can't control, what you do want, not what you don't want. And I think you're going to find yourself moving in the right direction.
Do me a favor and take a look at the playlist I'm leaving for you right here. It will help you take the steps you need to really move toward healing and away from the toxic person in your life. This brings me to the question of the day. And the question of the day is, what have your experiences been when it comes to the narcissist in your life and to his or her identity? Share your thoughts, share your ideas, share your experiences with me in the comments section below, and let's talk about it. Before I go, make sure you take a look at the videos I'm leaving for you right here and right here. And while you're here, hit that subscribe button so we can stay connected and continue on this healing journey together. As always, thank you so much for being a part of my day and a part of my life. And hey, thanks for letting me be a part of yours. It really does mean a lot to me. I'll see you soon.